lot of priority on in the first 2 games was denying Rise away from Splyce. They banned it game 1, no, they first picked it game 1, they banned it game 2, they've left it open in game 3, and we saw what Niski was able to do on the champion. Now coming into game 4, they are on blue side. I would expect them to ban it again, but they have been putting value on things like the Scion, for example, and also things like the Trundle to deny them away from the side of Splyce.
Banning the Scion again, which is very interesting, before they banned Rise and Akali on this blue side. And I actually think game 2 was when Schalke had the strongest draft compared to what we had on the side of Splyce. It was, as a reminder if you didn't watch it, where we had the Vayne pick from Corby. Splyce couldn't do anything for like 25-30 minutes, and Schalke actually had full control, but they got outplayed in some of the late game fights. If they want to play early game style, they can go for the same kind of setup. The Rise does not get first picked in this game. It is banned away, but Akali is still open. They're trying to force Splyce to ban it.
Looking towards that Braum and Alistair as well, 2 key picks throughout this.
Akali left open.
And they banned
Akali
LeBlanc.
is open,
So,
LeBlanc removed.
But I think LeBlanc is one of the best matchups into Akali as well, and Splyce just take it off the board. The fact that they would leave this open, very scary.
They have an answer. They must have an answer.
But we saw this before, Fisher. Remember when they let Aatrox open against Schalke and they said they had an answer? They didn't have an answer.
Let's wait and see what they bring out. I've seen a lot of teams go with something like a Galio against it, not to hard win the lane, but then you can snowball other lanes. But the Akali pick, get her to level 6, she can start to carry the game. They gotta make sure Nukdog is not behind by the time he hits that level 6.
I agree, but I don't think it's necessarily a lane that you need to snowball. It's just one that you, as you already said, keep alive. But she's also just naturally very difficult to kill anyway because of her Shroud. We'll see how well the team does at shutting her down.
Do we get the Alistar for Vander, who's also left open as a trade, potentially for the Braum. Amazing is back on Trundle duty. Not an all of this time, so we're not looking at the same kind of forced early game from a jungler, which did not seem to benefit Schalke in the last game.
There is the Alistair for Vander as well, so jungle, mid, and support locked in. Splyce, a lot of options.
Please have something special prepared.
Possibly towards the mid lane, a bunch of opportunities, but...
Oh! We get something! Oh! You know what you can use against someone who's hiding in a donut-shaped shroud? A giant donut-shaped cage!
Shut down the cage! Let's
right
go!
on top of her.
So there's, okay, so the reason why I like this so much is that Akali doesn't have any blinks. All of her abilities are dashes, aside perhaps from the second proc on her ultimate. We'll get that confirmed, but basically once that stun cage comes down from Veigar, there is no way for Akali to get out from it. So Splyce's goal is to lock down the assassin and burst her. And if there's one thing we know Veigar is good at, it's one-shot.
But seriously, get everyone in here because we got to witness a first pick Akali for Schalke. It was left open after Splyce banned it so often in this game already. Nukdog gets to play it in the mid lane, and then Splyce showing a counter pick they prepared, knowing this situation might happen.
And it's Niski playing the counter pick, the guy that stepped up for the team throughout this series of 5. We're going to move on to that second ban phase. We will talk a lot more about the Veigar and Akali, I'm sure, when we get into game. Cho'Gath Poppy banned away by Splyce, looking towards those top lane tanks. Schalke actually removing the Ezreal themselves. So we're going to see upset on something different. Corby here going to lock in the Ornn for Odo in the top lane.
All right, so we get the tank top. Kai'Sa now being locked in on the side of Schalke. Their scaling is very scary in this game with Kai'Sa, Alistar, and Akali. You have to remember, Alistar is a great choice against things like a Veigar, who's actually very easy to get onto if you can get out of the big stun. And what can Alistar do? You can all get onto a flash onto the Veigar as well. But Schalke might run a massive front line paired with 2 strong scaling carries.
So I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more, but I just looked at Niski's match history. He played Veigar into Akali just 2 days ago.
Abyssal Mask Rush.
We'll have a look at it as we get into the lane, but he knew that this could be a case, and he knew he needed a counter pick. Kai'Sa locked in for Schalke, Maokai as well in the top lane once again, and now we're looking at that final pick for Splyce. It's gonna be down towards that bottom lane, expecting an AD carry. We'll see what they lock in. It's a Kog'Maw as well!
Oh my word.
Oh, if Splyce are going to win this series on this game, they're going out with a bang.
So the one thing we have to say about Splyce is that with all their infrastructure, with the veteran talent on this lineup, you knew that coming into playoffs they were going to be prepared, and they've come in with so many unique picks. They're playing so many different styles. Splyce look so confident coming into Game 4.
They also have a coach who's insane in the good way because he's willing to take gambles in draft. We had the Vayne earlier today. He was the person who gave Aatrox over early in the split when everyone said this champ has to just be perm banned. It was before any of the nerfs hit. He did it anyway. Like, they have prepared so many different things here, and they're pulling them out. Of course, because they're 2-1, they can afford to take some chances. If they lose here, they're still at Game 5. But Schalke are looking at a first pick Akali. That's what they wanted, and now they have a lot of big, strong frontline tanks to try and get on to Nisqy.
Let's talk a little bit about win conditions, how these teams are going to play these compositions, because there's a lot of power picks. There's a lot of picks we do not see regularly. What are these teams looking to do?
I think when you see, first of all, the Akali versus the Veigar, you have to look towards that lane. They have to make sure Nukedog does not get ahead, and that's why they have this pick prepared against it. Xerxes can go to this mid lane as well. Double CC setup can be so effective, and you can wait until you can see the Akali again. But the other thing is, if we go full late game, if it happens, the scaling on both sides is still insanely strong, and it comes down to execution, especially between AD carries.
I think you're so totally right, because I think that Akali to play in these late game fights is going to be really difficult with all that peel on the side of Splyce. But late game team fights really seems to be the name of the game for Splyce. So much engage with the Ornn, so much late game damage with the Kog'Maw and the Veigar. They have the front line engage as well. It's all about team fighting once again for Splyce.
And just think about this combo here. You go towards Nukedog, either in the early game or a late game fight. He uses his W, you can't see him. Put the cage down, and what can happen with a Gragas ult? It knocks Akali out of it. You can suddenly see her again, you can nuke her down with an ult from Nisqy. Like, this combination is obviously designed to try and deal with the first pick Akali.
Now, the last time Nisqy played Veigar was last split. He played it one game. He played it into Schalke. His scoreline was 3-0-6, and he popped off. Thank you, Stats team, for providing that, but it was a beautiful game, and now he's doing it again. Game 4, best of 5 versus Schalke, the unique counter pick, Veigar versus Akali.
And if we look at the build that he used in solo queue, Medic, you already highlighted how he played against Akali. He built towards Luden's Echo first, but he had a Catalyst in there before fully completing it, and then he got the Abyssal Mask.
Guys, your vote counts. If you think Schalke are going to make a comeback, take us to Silver Scrapes. Type S04 in chat. If you think Splyce are going to go to the semi-finals for the second split in a row, type SPY in chat. We'll check in with the results on that vote in just a couple of minutes' time.
I'm also so happy we get a tank shredding AD carry back in a now tank meta with a lot of big beefy targets. Almost felt like it was just a matter of time before good old Kog'Maw here would return. So far, it's Splyce's favorite.
Just a tiny bit. Just a
tad. They're trusting the draft.
You know what's amazing about this, though? Only one of our analysts voted for Splyce coming into this. Only one person said that Splyce would take the series. It was Law, who has been consistently a Splyce fan. What an change of expectation we have coming into this fourth game of the series.
Like, Splyce finished 9-9 during the regular season. They had it appeared that they had one play style which was stalled a late game, and we didn't know how that would work.
What happens
Amazing.
Here?
Level 1 Kasing asserts his dominance and helps jungler Xerxes securing that Scuttle Crab.
I want to highlight something else here. Nisqy's running Predator in this game here.
He is.
So he's actually not just looking for the setup against Nukedog. Like, if he's able to leave and move, that can also be a very effective way. And that's kind of things like, if you want insane tower dives, how about a guy who AoE CCs into an insane nuke? Like, that's how you get rid of people before the turret even does anything.
And in terms of this matchup, during the laning phase, it shouldn't be too bad for the Akali. One of the things that she often does struggle against is range matchups, because before you get your Shroud and being a melee champion, having a short range means that you do get poked out a lot, but often, if you're the Veigar, your focus is on farming. You want to stack up your Q. You want to last hit those minions, start building up those stacks so that you get towards that late game threat, which means that Nukedog shouldn't struggle that much in terms of getting close to the wave, being able to farm, and even getting a bit of harass down onto the Veigar.
Looking for a fight down in this bottom lane. The flashes come out. Xerxes here. Exhaust used on upset as well. Vander with a double knockup. Can use the headbutt onto Xerxes, but he stops him in his tracks. And Vander is not in good shape at all. First blood to Kobe.
Everyone thought it was going on to the Kai'Sa, but instead he swapped it to the Alistar. Right there, Vander tried to just headbutt onto Xerxes and then get out in time, but that's now an early kill for Splyce. And one thing we haven't talked a lot about is the fact that Schalke are now down a game. They have lost in a terrible way in the last one. They did not look happy between the games here. Chachi just sat on the stage as the only player once he returned, and now you're already giving up a first blood.
Yeah, momentum swinging heavily in the favor of Splyce coming into game 4. Gesink messed that flash up, did Q into a minion, which means the slow was not applied. Upset flashes out the way, thinking that the flash body slam is going to come out from Xerxes onto him, but no, it goes onto Vander. He gets chain CC'd long enough that he's not able to flash out, and first blood goes onto the Cogmore. I believe it was Double Lift at MSI that said it is impossible to play Kai'Sa into Cogmore. Every time you try to go in for a trade, you get outranged, you get out DPS'd, and during the lane, it is one of the most obnoxious matchups to play. And everyone forgot about it. No one ran the matchup, we haven't seen it since MSI, and then coming into this game, Cobby's brought it out, and so far he's already off to another game.
I mean, a big problem was the games were too fast.
That's true.
You know, like
You're
it was
right.
almost decided before you got to a point where you really could carry a team fight. But the thing about Cogmore is he's strong on one item as well. And see what happens bot lane here. Xerxes coming again to ruin the day.
This thing's going to get stunned up. The Upset will be able to get Vander the kill, but there's the turnaround. Now, Upset, no flash on him, remember. Amazing coming in as well. They're trying to turn it back onto Xerxes. Amazing has his flash. If he wants to flash Pillar, decides against it for the moment.
While all this is happening, mid lanes, it's just free farm right now. And Akali is actually able to match what's happening. Nukedog is getting towards his level 6. Obviously does not run TP, so we'll lose a bit here, but no early action towards this lane, which is one we hyped up in Champ Select. Everything is around bottom side.
But I feel like if it's Veigar, it's not really a lane that you can look to play through, largely due to his extremely low damage.
It was more for the hype of the matchup.
Risky on the chase here with the Predator. Amazing has to flash out of the cage.
But to tie it back into that mid lane point, as we see Amazing getting chased out, remember we talked about, the thing about Akali is, again, she's also like in the first couple of levels, you can't really do a lot.
Yep.
Once she hits 6 is when you can really start to play around this lane.
She just hit 6 videos.
Yes, but the problem is Amazing just used his flash. And so if he tries to gank in mid, the stun comes out from Niski, he can then just disengage, and if he gets caught in it, then Splyce can actually go for a counter gank.
We've also consistently seen Splyce heavily focus on vision around Niski. Look at the minimap on the bottom side. If you're Nukedog, you have no clue what's happening down here. There could be a Gragas sitting here for about 2 minutes, waiting for you to jump forward, and then he ganks you. So with the lack of information, it makes it even harder for a champion who is extremely all-in focused.
All comes back to that level 1 Gesink roaming up and making sure his team secured the Scuttle Crab as well. Incredible stuff here from Splyce. They have a game plan coming into this game, as they have for so many playoffs in the past. This is their 5th in a row as an organization.
And they can keep just doing this because they have Copy winning on bottom side, which allows Gesink also to move from the bottom lane.
Now, in terms of early Drakes, it looks like the Cloud is the first one, so no Infernal this time around. And whenever Splyce have actually been in major control of the Drakes, they've gotten a lot of Infernals, but having that extra movement speed is mainly what they'll be playing towards in terms of the early game.
There.
Xerxes is hanging around this bot side of the map. He's going in.
That wasn't the time he wanted to go in, but still, look at the damage coming out from Kobe. He's picked up both the kills in that bottom lane. He's in such a strong spot.
And he's just making sure there's no way for Kobe to not get a hit right now. Forcing Vander back to base. Amazing. On the top side right now, Nukedog roaming with him. Oramne has been basically just farming top lane. No one has actually tried to kill him just yet.
So we have the level 6, the level 7 now on Nukedog. Amazing is 6 as well. His flash still not up, but you feel like Schalke know they want to play around mid. They know they want to get Nukedog ahead, and so they're trying to make things happen.
So what's more likely to happen with Nukedog is he actually tries to roam around the map, because once you get level 9 especially, you get that extra bit of wave clear on your Q, which gives you pressure, and you can then move to look for potential dives. And already we see from Schalke setting up this dive towards the top side of the map.
Xerxes on his way. Odoamne is going to pray to the Forge God, misses it because of the pillar, but this is not a good dive as of yet. Odoamne just going to knock them both up, and Xerxes is here for the chase. Flashes in. Doesn't land the body slam. Schalke have to back away for the moment. Niski's on his way. He's popped the Predator. He's waddling towards this. Chachi dodges out from the cage with the twisted advance. Nukedog needs to get in the midst of it all. Primordial burst to the back, and Chachi is down.
And Niski gets there first. Chachi ends up in a sticky situation as he gets zoned away from the rest of his team, and Splyce find themselves another early kill. 1,000 gold advantage now in their pockets as Schalke, they don't want to leave with nothing.
They're looking for Xerxes here to go toward his red buff, maybe not expecting him to hide around. Amazing starts it now. Still in it. He needs to buff in the brush. Xerxes will see them now.
Yeah, he knows that Amazing's just stolen that one away.
But that play from Schalke, it's kind of, again, what happens when you're already down in a series. Like, they spent so long actually setting it up. Xerxes had so much time to recall and run all the way to the top because the first play is just interrupting the ult from Odo Amne. And now you're still waiting. Odo Amne has actually bought so much time without doing almost anything. And when this happens, you have to then flash away. Like, I think if you can't instantly commit to the tower dive, you have to not actually go for it when the enemy jungler has clearly had enough time to recall.
And now Nisqy, he actually had to take the long way around to get up to the top side of the map, but it was that Predator that helped him get there first. The extra bonus movement speed that he had to quickly join the rest of his team, having that boost of speed enabled him to get there before Nukeduck could and help turn that fight around. So well played that by Nisqy. Splyce now sitting at 3-1 in the kill score, and 1-0-0 right now for the Viger.
Yeah, in a pretty good spot. The Kog'Maw ahead as well. A little bit of fisticuffs in the top lane. Earlier we talked about how Kobbe is a great tank shredder on this Kog'Maw, but you have to remember, Nisqy's ultimate was changed quite a while ago to do percentage missing health as well. So if you can get Chachi low, if you can get Amazing low, you're actually going to be able to help out with that tank shred and with that burst off the Viger.
Looking towards the bottom lane here, see if they can get Kobbe further ahead. Xerxes spent most of his time down here. Did read the play top lane as well, which we gotta credit him for when he went up and defended Odo Amne. Good early start from him, and he's really stepped up in this series here. Been a lot of question marks around Xerxes, the player who was actually awarded Jungler of the Split last split here in spring. All-Pro Jungler.
Got Rookie of the Split the first time he was in the LCS as well.
Won a lot of different awards here, and people have kind of been questioning his performance during the summer split. I think in this series he showed up big time.
Yes, I love the way in which he's playing.
Oh, here we go.
Flash engage.
Flash engage with the Glacial Fisher. Teleport coming in behind them as well. And Splyce just have this one. It's by the book by them in the bottom lane. Vander tries to get away, but Kobbe just needs one more auto attack to get the kill. Nisqy tries to get onto Upset, looking for that ultimate to the back. He's done. Vander chasing away, but the flash in, but Kobbe is not alive. So Vander escapes, but Upset goes down.
The aftershock kept Vander alive long enough, but now Nukeduck has his eyes set on the top lane. This should be a free kill.
Nukeduck has the perfect execution, uses the blades to get it out. Mini stun onto Odo and just waiting for the second proc. Nukeduck gets his first kill of the game. The Akali's on the board.
And they have to get the Rift out as well, because now with Schalke losing on the bottom side, they have to be able to get some big objectives up here. They're not getting a turret, but Amazing should secure the objective, and they got a kill on Akali. The first pick, it was left open in the draft. Okay, they actually do step back. I thought for a moment they were just going to recall to see what was happening, but should get two big objectives, so it is a win for Schalke here.
Yes, and it's also really good to help in terms of the mid lane siege as well. The thing about Viger is once he gets a couple points in his Dark Mana, then he has valuable wave clear, but at the early levels it's not as strong. So Schalke taking down that turret means that moving around the map for Akali will be that much easier, and they can prevent these kind of plays where Splyce just go for the all, then dive. They feel like they've got a free kill onto Vander, but he plays this well. You can see that with the damage reduction on his ulti, he buys a lot of time, and then Upset just gets caught in the cage. He's not able to escape, and there's that point and click ulti from Nisqy.
And the Schalke bot lane, like, their job right now, and they're already behind this, don't try and do anything. Like, you need to win through the Akali and try and go up and kill Odo Amne. But when they saw Kobbe recall, they're like, we can interrupt him without any vision on bottom side. There's been control wards from Splyce all game long, and yet they step forward to stop a recall, and they instantly get punished forward. Luckily, the rest of Schalke were able to do something on the other side of the map, so it was a win. I guess we can call it a fantastic bait from the Schalke bot lane.
I mean, considering only one of them went down, maybe, but Schalke have been struggling in this early game. They've equalized that gold score. As an organization, this is their first ever playoffs. And when you're competing against a team that has been in the last 5 in a row, you have to wonder how much of the mental game plays into this matchup.
I mean, it's true, and if you look at it and say it's your first time in playoffs, I mean, just making it is a great achievement. But the way they got in here, by losing to H2K and dropping out of that second place where you were straight into the semifinal, that's why there's suddenly so much pressure on them actually doing well against Splyce, the number 6 seed. Xerxes is around.
And Nukeduck should be safe here, but like we can say it's good to make it, but Schalke were not a team made to make playoffs. They were a team made to make worlds. And if they don't get there, then I think they will be a little bit disappointed all around. They do still have the gauntlet if they get knocked out here, but across the board, all of these players are looking to play in those World Championships.
I mean, what all players want is to be champion of Europe first. Like, it's all well and good going to Worlds, but if you can't even hold up a good performance within your own region, then you're never going to be truly satisfied with your own.
You can become a caster.
You can yeah, that's...
It worked for you, eh?
Footsteps of Deficio.
We don't have that many spots, however, so not everyone can do it.
So, one thing we also have to keep track of is the stacks on Vigar. Remember we talked about scaling for the side of Splyce. If the observers could quickly jump over to Vigar for us, we can see that right now he's sitting on 111 stacks. That is 111 ability power, 278 total, and he is grouping up with his jungler to move towards the bot side of the map to secure Splyce's first tower of the game.
Oh, interrupt that one.
Amazing playing up towards the top side here. Call of the Forge God does come out. Chachi can tank this tower for a long time. Odo trying to get the knockups out, but that's enough for Schalke, and they have decided to play towards the top side. They're moving away from this Cosmo.
Using the Herald as well to get another turret for themselves. So while Splyce is getting the bot lane turret, they didn't actually get any extra kills. And Schalke are finding ways to get an advantage, and it's around Odo. We've seen this before. When he's left on an island, he will go down quite a bit. Should not be able to get the next turret, but get a bit of damage on it. Why not?
Free bit of damage is always helpful. About half the HP of the inhibitor tower, though.
Schalke now sitting on a gold lead after what looked like a pretty significant early deficit, dropping a lot of kills towards the bot side. Vigar picking up extra kills as well. Schalke is still looking to be proactive on the map, and their target is Odoamne. He goes in, he gets a good interrupt onto Odoamne. And because it was used mid-channel, I believe that's why it ended up interrupting it, rather than if the pillar came up and then he goes in, then it would destroy the pillar. But ends up finding themselves another kill. Schalke now sitting at a 1,000 gold lead, excuse me, and they have their eyes set on the bot tower, but it's still pretty healthy for the time being.
15 minutes in, that's a little gold lead for Schalke, as you say. We're starting to get first completed items here. Nuke Duck on the Hextech Gunblade, Storm Razor for Upset as well. On the other side, Ludens is completed for Niski. I think he's sitting about 120 stacks as well on that Vigar passive, and the Blade of the Ruin King now for Corbett.
So let's see where they actually put the Akali now, because Gunblade is a huge item spike for him, especially at level 11 too, where he now has 2 points in his ultimate, gets that extra bit of damage and burst. So I'm surprised that they're keeping him around the mid lane. He is strong 1v1. He can generate a lot of pressure off on the side, and I feel like that they should consider moving Kai'Sa there to funnel a little bit more farm into Schalke's AD carry.
Splyce fighting up around this top side river. You can see Niski consistently landing those stuns with the Vigar. It's incredibly difficult to play against because of the zone control and because you have a fed AD carry as well. So if you ever get near Splyce and they catch you out, you're just going to get destroyed. Incredibly surprised as well to see that the fact that Xerxes has 0 deaths this series. We asked him to step up. We asked him to be a key member for Splyce, and it looks like he's doing exactly that. Definitely
true. Nuke Duck around the mid lane. Would love to not get onto Niski, but it's just simply not allowed right now. The range is not in his favor at this point here. If he does go to the side lane, he can chase him down, maybe.
Is there an argument for a second item QSS here on Niski? Just to be able to keep yourself a little bit safer to jump on towards the Vigar?
Potentially. Could consider it. 5-man group up mid from the side of Splyce. Look at Vander looking for an engage.
Vander gets the engage on towards the sideline. It is on Niski. Can they get onto the back? Forge God as well. Splyce just turn it back around. There was no Kai'Sa in this fight at all, and it has cost Schalke did. Here we go. Dive in from Nuke Duck. Gets Vander. Kai'Sa gets on the back line as well. And Schalke say, not today, not 3 times in a row. They turn it right back around. They find the fight they need in the mid lane.
A beautiful turnaround from Schalke after what looked like a not so good engage. Vander starts things off, but you see the disengage power of Splyce's composition, the amount of peel that they have available to them, but then the moment Upset joins, that is when the fight goes in favor of Schalke. They pick up a bunch of kills, they're extending the gold lead to 2k, and Schalke are still in this game.
This replay is brought to you by Acer Predator. Let's have another look at that fight.
Talk about a big moment here. If you're Schalke and you lose this fight, you're already down 2-1 in the series. It might just be game over mentally. But after the initial engage, and Niski stays alive, it looks like a Splyce win. But they are using summoners to get out, and they are taking a bunch of damage while chasing towards the turret, and that's when Kai'Sa joins, gets into the back line. Niski can't do anything, he drops as well. And this is how you can turn around a series, because now your carries are fed on the side of Schalke.
What a turnaround play from them. Thought perhaps it was too little too late, but Nuke Duck with the assassination. Upset there as well, right at the final moment. A 2,000 gold lead now for Schalke.
Now Nuke Duck is in the side lane, but again, I want to highlight, if Xerxes is there, the idea around this stun from a Veigar that you can't really get out of, into then the ulti from Xerxes to get Nukeduck in vision is a combination that should kill him every time. I think he's going Banshees in this one. We had the discussion around QSS, but just having Banshees to block the initial stun so you can actually get in range can also be huge for him.
Could also be in part to try and block the Alistar engage, but I think there are a number of tools that you can use to mitigate that. We'll have to wait and see once he completes that Banshees how well it can work out for him. The cage fails to land onto anyone from the side of Splyce. Remember that pick potential is also pretty brutal from the side of Nisqy. Amazing now getting collapsed upon.
Splyce have the vision control around this river as well. With the Infernal Dragon up, you can see that's what they want to play around. Nukeduck's now gone down towards the bottom lane.
Splyce also really have the range advantage around mid. When Cobby and Nisqy are sitting there, they can get to the wave first. They can actually kill the backline very quickly, and Upset can't step forward and trade with them. So they have to watch Splyce kill the wave and move first into the river, and then look for a play.
Fight onto Nukeduck. Oh, fancy feet from the Akali. Gets himself the safety. Better support by Splyce as well. Schalke a little bit split up here. Kasing jumps in, trying to get out amazing. Three-man knock up from Vander, but Nukeduck is getting chased out by Odo. It's all on Upset. He's dodging around the side of this fight. Nisqy's down. Upset. That's the fight you need from your franchise, man. The double kill in the 3v5. Kasing should fall at the end of it all as well. This is incredible stuff from Schalke.
And Vander gets his Alistar, and that combo around the stun from Nisqy into the backline was so huge. Kasing might try and stay alive, but Vander's still chasing him.
But Upset came up massive in that fight.
Support fight!
So much damage. Kasing trying to get out of this situation. I don't know if he can pull it off. He's running fast. He's so fast.
It's the Cloud. It's the best dragon in the game, Deficio.
And the Ghost.
Yes, the Ghost and the Clouds get away. Teleport used. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him, Upset. Upset just wants the kills.
Going for the execute.
Going for the chase. Execute Kasing. No.
It though.
Hit with the Void Seeker. The Plasma has procced. And that's the kill for Upset.
But man, once we get this replay, just look at the setup from Schalke. It's after Splyce are chasing Nukeduck. He dodges the early ulti from Olanne. And man, that engage from the Alistar was perfect. Around the cage, he gets onto Copy. It's a three-man knockup. He gets both carries, and Upset does not get bursted down. And then he's sitting with full HP, no one can get to him. Everything is falling apart for Splyce.
Both tanks are on the bot side of that fight. Odo Omne was nowhere near to provide peel because he was trying to keep Nukeduck out of the fight. Gragas was trying to disengage as well, and all three carries were just left to the fierce power that Schalke had.
It's smelling like a game 5 right now without Schalke playing this one.
Quite possibly, but I don't like to count my chickens before they're hatched, Officio. Maybe we'll hear Silver Scrapes, maybe we won't. Schalke have a 4,000 gold lead, but they have been up before in this series, and they have thrown away that advantage.
That is a very valid point.
Schalke right now, the Baron is alive. Splyce currently have main vision control up towards the top side of the river. And that is because they can quickly get towards that mid priority. Schalke, for now, just playing on the defensive. They do have decent vision on the backside, but they want to reset, pick up a couple more, spend a bit of their gold, and then look to set up around this big purple worm.
And we have now already seen how Schalke wins the fights. It's Vander who can completely ignore what Nisqy is doing, getting to that carry, and it actually sets up the Kai'Sa so well. She's fed now. Hexdrinker's coming in. You need something to protect you from the burst. Still, the fact that Copy is the one with a lot of kills on Splyce, that is normally how they can win late game team fights. He's looking at a bunch of tanks in front of him. If he gets the time, he will kill them. Right now, he's not getting it because the fights are very fast.
Looks like he's building up towards Wit's End as well. Will help the Veigar shred through and will help against Nukeduck as well, trying to assassinate that back line. 22 minutes in, there's about a 5,000 gold difference between these two teams. Upset 2.5 completed items with the Hex Drinker there. Nukeduck sitting on the Hextech Gunblade and that Banshees that we talked about. Splyce, on the other hand, need to find a way back.
Yeah, and they can keep stacking MR because there's so much magic damage on Splyce's side. It's really hard for them to shred through it just yet.
Note the positioning of Nukeduck as well, sitting in the top side. This is something he does a lot of. Just setting up the wave to be a massive minion wave that the enemy will have to deal with. Creating this pressure will allow him to then group up with his team, and then it creates this split push effect. But they will have a 5-man unit rather than a 1-3-1 style of pressure.
Guys, get involved at home. Spam in chat if you think Schalke are taking us all the way to Silver Scrapes. It's S04. If you think Splyce are going to take it and go to semi-finals and face up against Fnatic, it's SPY in chat. Get your spam on now. So we'll check in with that result in just a couple of minutes' time.
And ladies and gentlemen, we said coming into playoffs, this was the most competitive playoffs we've had in a long time. If this is not evidence for that, I don't know what is. 3 seed versus the 6th seed, and there is a potential Game 5 on the cards. Both these teams are showing some fantastic stuff. Many individual members really stepping up and making those clutch plays. And
they're not fully on the hype train yet.
They're not fully sold yet. They still believe in Splyce's ability to come back. Niski has had a phenomenal series so far, and he will be one of the big carries in order to find a win for Splyce.
And to be fair, Schalke has not shown us the clean snowball just yet. Last time they had a big advantage, they lost the game.
Look at Chachi, look at Chachi.
Look at the cats, look at the cats!
Here we go, Nature's Grass lands onto one. Teleport coming in straight away, but Upset can't get into the midst of this fight. He jumps onto Niski, that's not enough. Kasing stands in his way. Chachi tried to get the final shot in, but he did not. Nukeduck coming in from the bottom side as well here. Amazing knocked up. Will be the first to fall in this fight, and Splyce turn it around on Schalke.
That whole fight starts with a face check into the tank by Niski. Curious as to what he was trying to set up right there, because he nearly cost his team the fight, but in the end it was Splyce with a good turnaround. They find themselves a big kill onto Amazing, but Schalke is still generating pressure on the map.
This is the same like in Game 2. Splyce are really far behind. Schalke try and force a play around mid. That should work. But Nukeduck wasn't there just in time. Upset after his initial engage ended up stepping to the Wolf camp while Amazing was still stuck with the enemy team, and Splyce win the fight and buy more time. Let's see what happens here. Chachi's out of vision.
What does Niski do?
He just Predators in.
Yeah, he just runs straight into the face of 2 members of Schalke.
Alright, not the greatest engage on his side. He gets it. What happens now? Because after Chachi gets out, Upset is doing Wolves. Hit the enemy team! Why are you killing cams?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not the best of decisions from either team there.
I think that's the best way to summarize it, Betty. In the end, it was the lesser of 2 evils.
I mean, you want to kill something, I guess, and he's like, look, I get more gold from this.
Yeah, it works.
Don't care about my jungler, he can just die.
Okay, so in terms of win condition, guys, it looks like Schalke are adopting Nukeduck in a side lane. They're letting him push, and then they're trying to find catches in the mid lane. Splyce, we said they wanted to team fight. Is that still the case, or do they need to delay the game?
So the longer this game goes for Splyce, the better. Late game insurance for Kog'Maw and Veigar, I think, is really, really scary, and I think their tanks are just really beefy the later the game goes. I think, like all assassins, Akali will get harder to play as the game progresses, and I don't think that Nukeduck is the primary win condition. For me, Upset is the one that we really need to keep our eyes on, because he is now 5-1-1 on a Kai'Sa. He is 2 levels above Kobe. This guy is so strong and is sitting on a bunch of healthy items that he needs to be the one that carries them in these late game fights.
He needs to hit the enemy champions.
He needs to hit them, not the jungle.
That's definitely a way to do it, but I actually think scaling on Schalke's side is also fantastic. So to me, it's not oh, you have to just wait for late game. You actually have to be able to outplay the big team
of
fights.
Course, you are correct.
And that's obviously going to be the big thing here. Like, you are down. It's not the same kind of situation as the Vayne game where you had that clear cut. You know, if we get past this rough stage now, we will just automatically win the late game fights. But obviously, a lot of it is Akali execution.
The thing is, when you look at these late game fights, like, I completely agree with you when it comes to execution is all that matters. But do you not find that the ease of execution is that much easier for Splyce compared to that of Schalke?
My concern is you have 2 carries with no dashers against Maokai ulti, Trundle Pillar, Alistar engages.
True.
I don't think there is a clear way for Splyce's backline to always stay safe.
Yes.
Where I think on the side of Schalke, because your AD carry is actually built to jump into the enemy backline and the enemy guys can't escape, you're always getting an opening if you are Schalke.
That's fair.
It is not a guaranteed bound we go in, we just easily win it, but I just feel like the scaling on both sides is pretty insane, and one team is all about killing the enemy backline, and the other team is all about protecting that backline with Kobe and Niski, and if they do that, they will kill the enemy tanks, or maybe even Upset when he jumps in. So it's a lot of like instant shotgun effect from Schalke of like how much can you do in the engage time, the following 3-4 seconds.
Yep.
And how much can you do if you're a Splyce and you actually survive those 3-4 seconds, and then Kobe clicks W and he leans back on his chair and he's like, yeah, there we go, I'm just going to kill everyone now.
I think that's fair.
Right click towards people, let Niski try and get that zone control. Odawamne there as well with the ultimate can have a massive impact on the outcome of a team fight. We saw Schalke just take the Cloud Drake, the Baron is up as well for them, want to see them move forward, want to see them get some deeper vision in this Splyce jungle if they can, so that they can set up for these mid to late game objectives. You have to remember, we're only 28 minutes into this game. Both these teams much more adept at playing the late game, at slowing the game down. And that seems to be what Schalke are doing. I'm just not sure it's what I want them to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like the fact that the series it's been faster in the early to mid game. Like, teams have tried to force more. Question is, can Schalke get a Baron?
Yeah.
Like, that was the big problem in that game too, when they had the same situation we have now. Chachi is once again on the flank, but Nukdog is not here yet. Vedis, you already highlighted this multiple times, but he stays in the side lane, gets the full wave pushing, and then he starts leaving. So it does buy a bit of time for Splyce to react. When they see him missing from the top side, they know, okay, now the engage could happen, but Schalke can start the Baron with just a Kai'Sa. She has enough damage to do it.
Question is whether they will be willing to pull that trigger, because they know if they fail at the Baron, that's their playoffs run over. Like, if Splyce get the Baron, they can just push, they can get tower after tower, as we saw them do in that game too. Maybe a little bit of apprehension in the minds of Schalke. Splyce, on the other hand, happy to keep stalling this one out. They're not losing much damage from the top tower. They're not losing much in mid, and they're just getting more items on their Kog'Maw, getting more items on their Veigar, stacking up that passive as well on the Veigar.
This map is being set up beautifully right now from Schalke. You can just see how far up they are towards Splyce's half of the map. Really good vision set up towards the top side.
Here we go.
That's what we wanted to see.
Pushed in bot, and now, once again, they're doing what they've done so many times this series, starting off the Baron with full vision control, Nukdog and Vander hanging around the side. But look at how quickly this drops. Can Xerxes even get there in time?
5,000 HP left on it, 4,000 now. Xerxes looking for the steal if he can get it. He's knocked away.
He might get it
He might get it, and he doesn't. Upset jumps across the wall as well, and Xerxes is down. Kobe gets a kill on Vander in response. Upset might want to come down and join this fight because it's a 4v2 in favor of Splyce at the moment, but he doesn't want to be on that back line. Still more damage coming out from Schalke, and Nukdog's gone up towards the top lane.
Exactly that, Medic. You can see he's already got the Baron buff and is split pushing towards that top side of the map. 4 members of Splyce are just trying to run away from the tanks of Schalke, as Schalke are looking to try and take an inhibitor.
Here we go, Schalke pushing with the inhib in the top lane. Splyce trying to respond if they can, but Schalke have utilized that early game lead that they acquired. Now, Odoamne is here, no ultimate on him yet, but with Niski and Kobe on the way as well, Splyce are going to be able to defend against Schalke.
More importantly, Schalke do not end up wasting more time around Baron without getting it. They actually secured the objective, got a kill on Xerxes, did not get top inhib. Obviously will be one of the next ones they're looking at, but this was such a big problem in game 2. They kept losing fights at this point in the game. Now they're actually winning the fight, getting the Baron as well. Splyce did try and chase here, did not manage to actually land a slow, and therefore have to step back. Massive cat, by the way, that's some crazy damage.
But this was also just fantastic setup from Schalke. Like, they followed all of the steps, they did everything that they needed to do, and for the most part, that Baron was clean. It was so difficult for Xerxes to get in and steal, and they secured the objective, and now they're on track to taking us to a Game 5. The silver scrapes that every League of Legends esports fan knows and loves is on track as Schalke look to bounce back.
Essence Reaver on Kobe right now. Very easy for him to activate it, obviously, on the Kog'Maw here, and trying to get reduced cooldown during the duration of it for his W as kind of the thing you're always hoping to have almost all fight long, which is normally impossible. I want to see his uptime, though, with this build.
Nukdog does have a 2-level advantage over Niski now. There's a 2-level advantage between Opset and Kobe. Nukdog is already level 18, highest level in the game. That split push has worked out well for him. A 50 CS advantage as Schalke push towards this second inhibitor tower. Upset willing just to step forward, doesn't really care about Kobe and Kasing and Xerxes. He's only worried about Niski, or perhaps the flank from Odoamne as well if it does occur. A 10,000 gold lead for Schalke. It's looking very likely that they take us all the way to Game 5.
They've actually got amazing off on the side lane to trade up against Odoamne. Feel like that the Trundle will do better in the 1v1 and create more pressure, but here comes the Horn.
One engage, perhaps for Splyce, but they do not find what they wanted. Upset flashes away, Inhibitor is going to fall in the top lane.
Here we go, that's a combo!
They can get it, the combo finally comes out. Nukdog just about escapes, but not for long enough. Inhib does go down. Nukdog pays for it with his life. Down towards the bottom side. Amazing's pushing on towards the Inhibitor tower here as well. Odoamne is going to try and stop him as he can get the chase off. Subjugate does come down, but now Schalke answer in the mid. They say, okay, we'll pull you around the map. Kasing flashes forward for the engagement. No, there's no flash on Upset. Perhaps this is the final moment for Splyce if they find the fight. Chachi jumps on towards Niski. Niski does get taken out. Upset is the one to secure the kill. It's a 4v3 and Vander will pay for it with his life, but Schalke get away to safety.
We finally got that combo with the Veigar Cage into the ulti from Xerxes that actually managed to get Nukdog down in time. Sadly for them, when they went for the fight, the actual Fed member is not Nukeduck, it's the AD carry of Schalke.
And we talked about Upset being one of the key members in these late game fights. His positioning to avoid the cage from Niski was just what they needed. Now, he did use his flash here, and you'd think that coming into the next fight that could be deadly. But his positioning will be worth keeping track of as we go into the next fight. Now, here is the comment you're talking about, Deficio. Forced a flash out of that situation, Nukeduck was, but he ends up going down regardless. Then we see Splyce going, okay, we have a numbers advantage, we know we can force a fight mid. Kasing just go onto whoever you can, but he engages onto Vander. He tries to get the knock-up onto Amazing, isn't able to do it. The cage just barely misses due to some good positioning from Upset, and then he repositions with the ulti. He's free to deal all the damage because he knows he has a safe frontline in Vizicachi, and that means that it ends up being a 1-for-1 overall, even at a numbers disadvantage.
And we get that fight setup we mentioned earlier where Schalke, the first couple of seconds of the fight where the Kaiser can jump in and get to the backline are so key. Because Kobe right there, he had a long fight. He got a bunch of damage on Chachi. In the end, he also secured a kill, but he's not nuking him down in 2 seconds. He needs a bit of time, and you need your teammates to stay alive while Kobe is trying to kill the front line of Schalke. That's why this Kaiser pick is so huge. And it feels like Upset has to do this in every fight, actually jump in to Niski or Kobe and try and kill them.
Looking for the engage up towards the bottom side here, unable to find it. And you can see actually as well, Kobe has decided to go for the Giant's Belt next. A little bit of extra tankiness for him, trying to keep himself safer if his front line cannot do that for him.
But Splyce is still successfully stalling. We're now approaching the 35-minute mark. Remember that Schalke once again had a massive gold lead much earlier into the game, like 25 minutes in. Schalke were completely dictating the pace. Baron is now spawning in about a minute and a half, and Splyce are now working on, like, they've completed some of their fourth items. Yes, Niski is still pretty far behind, but level 17 on the Vigar, if he lands that one clutch stun, that's going to be monumental in turning these fights in their favor. And at this point in the game, it becomes a battle of the AD carries, but, like, when you look at it, level 18 Upset, 3 levels above Kobe, fully completed item build, you just naturally want to give the edge to Schalke, but you just can't based on how the series has gone.
Yeah, and he has to be able to execute now. We've seen in the past, in this situation, it can be a little bit difficult to know exactly when to pull the trigger, and if you do jump in at the wrong time and just get one shot and die, you lose the entire fight for your team. But they're putting so much faith into him now. It's been a rough series for Upset, so if he's able to actually win this game for Schalke and turn everything around, that's so huge going into the final game. Splyce had a lot of cool answers in the draft. They tried to give the Akali first pick over. They felt like they had a good setup from Niski and Xerxes to deal with it. Kobe got a matchup for himself against the Kaiser with the Korkmore here, so the draft itself made a lot of sense, but bot lane, he's dead.
Yeah, Schalke find the fight on towards Odoamne, down towards the bottom side, almost gets away, but he is shut down, and now Kasing is in a very bad spot. Upset just opens up upon him, double kill for him. Nukeduck was fighting in the mid lane as well. He was going to get himself to safety. Inhibitor tower goes down in mid, and Amazing's looking for that inhib as well. Xerxes just chasing on towards Nukeduck, he's all by himself.
And that was the single pick that Schalke needed to just break fully into the base of Splyce. They don't need to wait for the inhibitor because 2 members of Splyce are down. The Nexus is in their eyes, and Schalke want to take us to game 5.
There is the third inhibitor as well. Schalke for the moment back away. They don't want to quite go for it yet. The Baron up in just 2 seconds. They can secure that. They can do this by the numbers.
Schalke, you identified it, Meg, working towards that Baron. I don't know if Xerxes can even get close enough for a steal. There is 0 vision on that top side of the map. Vander is hanging around in the jungle.
Go get it, boy! Oh, he runs away.
He's just going to abandon it.
They're going to lose the Baron, and you feel like as soon as you lose this Baron, you just lose the game, because you've got 3 inhibitors down, double super minions pushing in every lane. It's pretty much a death knell for Splyce as Schalke secure the Baron.
And it's so fitting that it's looking like a game 5 here, because these 2 teams are so close to each other in level. This is just a play where Odoamne is feeling like he can actually kill the wave, buy a bit of time for his team, but when you have no mid lane control, the enemy duo can just move down so quickly. Kaiser, of course, even better than the standard AD carry. It's a big moment for Schalke, because they didn't even have to win a big team fight. It was actually just a pick in the side lane. It was the easy way out to get all 3 inhibs.
Definitely the power of Kaiser and the power of Schalke. This is much more like the team that went 10-3 in 11-3 in their last 14 games. Much more like the second half of Summer Split Schalke. Much more like the team that almost got a direct spot towards those semi-finals. But as you guys say, this entire series has been very up and down, very back and forth, and I, for one, am very much looking forward to a Game 5.
So much pressure for both these teams. Splyce want to do better than last split where they finished in 3rd. They want to have a much easier time making it towards and Schalke for their first playoffs since the organization's arrival to the LCS. They want to have a good showing. They want to show that this investment was worth it. This stacked lineup that has had a fantastic second half of the split wants to make it to the finals and also wants that world's appearance.
Ooh, look at the combo. Top lane, maybe. Nuketook now. He knows.
Got to pull the trigger at some time if you're Splyce, because otherwise Schalke are just going to choke you out of the game. Xerxes there. Nuketook's just going to be able to get the inhibitors down towards the bottom side. There's a fight as Odo one may forced away. Chachi down to about half HP though, upset off towards the side. Chachi somehow survives, so does Odo. The box is put down by Niski, a double knockup. Upset still dodging around the side of the fight, but the minions are now on those Nexus towers. Upset! Oh, that's not what you want to do, but he keeps himself alive with the QSS, and now they're on the Nexus towers. Schalke have been able to claw their way back in this game. They've clawed their way back in this series, and they are taking us all the way to Game 5.
What a turnaround after getting destroyed in Game 3. Everything fell apart for Schalke. This game, rough start again. Early plays from Xerxes to get the bot lane ahead. Copy was 2-0. It felt like Splyce were getting in control, but then the plays around topside, they kept happening. Akali got a kill, the Trundle was up there from Amazing, and in the end, Upset ended up joining the fight, and he picked up all because that big one in the mid lane looked like an initial Schalke loss in that fight until Kaiser joined.
We talked about it, right? That Upset was going to be the big carry to watch in this game. He was going to be the pivotal deciding factor in the success of this team and taking us to a Game 5. And he lived up to those expectations, finishing with a 9-1-1 scoreline. 22,000 gold. That was 6,000 gold higher than the second person below him. Impressive stuff from Upset, coming up huge when his team needed him the most.
What a series we have, guys. Like, we're going all the way to Game 5. Both teams look incredibly evenly matched. And I look at it and I've seen back and forth in the draft. I've seen back and forth on strategy. I've seen early game. I've seen late game. I've seen scaling. I've seen counter picks. I'm just not sure what is going to happen. But for more on that win from Schalke, let's get some thoughts from our analysts.
Thank you very much, Medic. Well, hopefully we can shine some light on what it is that went well for Schalke that is different from the rest of the series. And my mind immediately goes to the bottom lane, to pick some bans. We said at the beginning of the previous games, hey, Upset, he hasn't had his best series so far. Maybe don't go to that Ezreal once again. They listened, Ender.
Exactly.
They banned out Ezreal themselves, maybe because it would have been good in Splyce's comp.
And then they got themselves the Kai'Sa, hyper carry, late game team fighter that absolutely can deal the damage that Schalke was missing in these last few games. And they paired it up with none other than Vander's All-Star. This champion was banned in the previous 3 games and showed how big of an impact he was able to have alongside his AD carry.
And this is the beauty of a best of 5 and how it unfolds, because these things that you think someone is never going to get their hands on just changes in priority when you come into Game 4. Joko, when you look at the draft, what sprung out to you from the side of Schalke or Splyce as the best picks for their composition?
I mean, first, Akali was open, so I was quite surprised, and they banned also LeBlanc, which is like the counter, and they went for the Veigar, so I was like, all right, that's something that no one knows, and I was really surprised with that. And obviously they let Alistar for Vander, and he at the Drake the team fight of Drake, he just hit the 3-man combo, and from that it just came back, and I was like, all right.
All right, then Ender, you want to talk about Predator Veigar. Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, I love Predator Veigar because the biggest thing about this is that Veigar's E is so good as an ability. The AoE CC, the zone control you can get, and specifically the ability to put it on top of a Akali Shroud so she can't actually escape. They pair that up with the Grugs as well to make sure you can guarantee some of these stuns. And another Predator, but really on Veigar, it allows him to close that gap, find these roams, and center that E around an enemy champion, which is much harder to do if you don't have that insane movement speed.
Yeah, I actually thought this was a great composition coming out of Splyce. You know, it works very well also in conjunction with the Ornn and with the Gragas, but it's always the question with the Veigar of yes, he's going to be strong, and yes, you've got that stun on the E, but you're still an immobile champion who is quite squishy, right, for most of the game, and I think that becomes harder when the game goes later, especially when Schalke plays the way they did. And this is where I want to get into the next couple of replays. First up, a big team fight for Schalke in the mid lane. Joko, you already said, well, hey, Akali was up, and this is what she can do.
Yeah, and right here at the start, of course, they actually, I think, get Nuke Duck down at the beginning. It was actually amazing they were able to knock out, but Niski is so low, and all the cooldowns were blown on this initial engagement that it left room open. Akali, yes, went in, but Upset was the big performer in a lot of these fights.
Yeah, getting the 2 shutdown especially make him so much strong after that. Like, I think he got like 1K2.
He got 2 shutdowns,
yeah, he got
and then got
1K2
so
goals,
much
and yeah, it was over from that.
Yeah, from that, I think we all saw, okay, well, is this the game that Upset's going to pop off? And when you're so fat on Kai'Sa, that is exactly what we expect. I want to get into the next team fight, which is the Upset going crazy at the Infernal Drake. And this is where I think you want to highlight Alistar.
Yeah.
This is why you take that away from Van.
Yeah.
Hey, boy.
It's all those headbutt pull engaged onto multiple members to stack up the Kai'Sa passive, give all the damage when those marks do end up coming through. And it's funny because we thought Akali was the issue. You know, looking at draft, you leave it open, that's a scary thing to do, but it really was the bot lane of Schalke that made that major leap forward after some rough performances the past couple
Joko,
games.
if you're now in the mind of Upset, you know, you've had a lot of stress coming into the series. You haven't particularly performed too well. How is this game going to unlock him for Game 5?
I mean, right now we saw that S04 didn't win a single game, and all these lane picks or mid picks didn't work out. And since Kobe picked the Vayne and going for the late game AD carries, it's working. So I think he will keep on this path and maybe going for Kai'Sa, I think, because right now it seems pretty strong and you can't really catch it. So yeah, it's a bit cheeky.
Yeah, it's a bit cheeky and incredibly strong. Kai'Sa will be something we're looking at in terms of bans of Game 5, and this is where it turns to be difficult because we had games that the early game was won spectacularly for one team and the other, and then they lost. There was a backdoor, there were late game scaling comps, there was a Veigar. Okay, make sense of it all to me. Must bans for the side of Schalke or Splyce, either. You can pick. What are they?
For Splyce, I want the Alistar out of the equation.
Yes.
Ban that again. I don't think they need to ban Shen. I really didn't think they needed to ban the LeBlanc either. There was room for them to try and target ban away from Vander, and if Vander isn't on Alistar, I don't think Upset has as good of a game as he ended up having.
Anything else? Is the Rise, of course, still a must ban?
I don't see maybe Rise. I think Rise, and I think it's everything is kind of fair right now. Like there is not that much broken champ anymore with the new patch. Talia is nerfed, Trundle also. So yeah, I don't know. Right now it seems pretty balanced to me.
So does it go from being the mid lane matchup to now the bottom lane? Are we now looking at Upset to carry versus Kobe, or is there someone else you guys have in mind?
I'm still looking at this mid lane matchup. I think it really does come down to it in the end. I think this game was an outlier, and Upset really stepped up to the challenge, but ultimately it is Nuke Duck versus Niski.
Okay, so that means we can. I'm going to give you the opportunity to review your predictions. Now, Joko, you did say 3-2 in favor of Splyce at the beginning of the day. Would you like to stay with that or change it?
Yeah, I would like to stay with that.
I would stay with that as well if I was you. You could look like an absolute god. Ender, Schalke, 3-1. That's out the window. What do you want to do?
I'm flip-flopping, man. Every single game, I swear, I've been like, wow, Schalke gonna win this one. Splyce win. Splyce win, then Schalke win all of a sudden. So I'm changing my vote up. I'm going with Splyce. I've loved how they've approached all of these drafts for the most part. There have been a few things I'd like to change here and there. And I think that, again, we go back to the usual Xerxes playmaking in the early game around this mid lane and have Niski step up to carry in game
For some
5.
reason, Schalke has chosen blue side for the last game, which is going against the trend of most of the beginning of the series. But now we've seen that the teams are becoming more comfortable. They have a first pick in mind. It has to be. I'm keeping my faith in Schalke.
I think they try to run it back, right? You win a game of this caliber with that same bot lane. If you can get as close to that composition, you carry so much momentum
first pick is what you're
coming
saying.
into this last game.
We'll see. Incredible amounts of hype. Splyce, nobody thought they could do it, and now they are on match point. But Schalke is also on match point. Can they finally live up to their expectations in our very first playoffs matchup? Splyce and Schalke have fought tooth and nail, and now it all comes down to the deciding game for a spot in Madrid. The battle ends when we come back. Silver Scrapes, let's go, baby.
Vander with a double knockup, can use the headbutt onto Xerxes.